both of our players who have fought really hard to get to this spot.
They're both really strong players. I don't think this game's anywhere near over.
We are ready to get this match underway. Welcome back to War Machine Weekend's Iron Gauntlet Qualifiers. I'm Will Schick, Director of Business Development for Privateer Press. I'm here with DC David Carl, our development manager as well. This is round 4, the last round of the day before we move into the Gauntlet rounds, which will happen tomorrow. And we will be live streaming both Gauntlet rounds as well, so be sure to tune in for that. It's been an exciting day so far. We've had some quick games. We've had some long drag-out games. We've had a lot of upsets today, too, I think, overall, in terms of the overall pack and who is advanced forward and might be making it to our Gauntlet round tomorrow, which we'll find out at the end of tonight. So it's been a fun one, and I'm excited to see how this game plays out. We have 2 very interesting lists, one that has us scratching our heads a little bit in terms of how it works. But you don't make it to round 4 in the Iron Gauntlet's undefeated if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a very good plan. And oftentimes those out of left field lists can have huge impacts on games. You learn how to play them right. People aren't expecting what's coming. They don't know how to adjust for it, and that can make all the difference. So I'm really excited for this match. I think it's going to be a great one to go out on today.
Yeah, I also want to point out to anyone watching that there have been a lot of great matchups that we couldn't cover. We can cover one each round, but there have been a lot of great games played today here in the Iron Gauntlet preliminaries.
So our game for this final round is close quarters. You see the 2 flags set up. This one is a very standard and stock scenario for the Steamroller packet. The goal always is to score 5 control points before your opponent does. You can control your friendly flag to dominate your friendly flag for 1 CP. You can control the enemy flag for 1 CP or dominate the enemy flag for 2 CPs. You need 5 to win. Pretty simple and straightforward as scenarios go, but it is a great one. Nice and bloody and close up and personal.
Yeah, definitely one that forces engagement. You can see just how close the flags are there on the table, and we're going to see a Scorne army under the command of Ian Lippold smashing up against a brutal Cryx army under the command of Adam Stewart.
And Adam is bringing Goreshade, Lord of Ruin. This list is a pretty standard take on the Goreshade, Lord of Ruin kind of stick, which is to have a lot of targets for Mockery of Life, the ability to go in, freeze your opponent, and kind of take them apart piece by piece. There's a couple of interesting parts in there, though. He's got a Scarlock and a Defiler for Goreshade's battle group, effectively. He's got Derek Wraith, which is a classic ad for his ability to do Hell Ride, as well as be a useful piece to control board. A Pistol Wraith, Madeline Corbeau for that extra 3 inches of movement, leading to different assassination runs. A War Witch Siren, 2 Machine Wraiths. They're incorporeal, though their abilities won't matter in this game for taking control of enemy Warjacks. Their incorporeal ability and their ability to get where he needs them for that feat turn is what's really critical with them. Following that idea up, there's also a unit of Blackmanes in there at full strength. Their incorporeal ability, again, allowing them to get to places to maximize Goreshade, Lord of Ruin's feat. And his ability to explode those 3-inch AoEs of stationary all over his opponent. Full unit of Soul Hunters, a full unit of Bane Riders, a mini unit of Blood Witches with the Blood Hag kind of rounds out the rest of things. So you see a lot of incorporeal playing off the fact that you want to be able to get your models where you need them to be so that you can get those AoEs and that stationary effect where you want them.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, we've got a bit of a feet-on-feet matchup where a lot of the choices are determined by just what exactly these guys can do with their feet. The Scorne army has Supreme Optimus Azal with a Kriya, a Basilisk Kriya, and a Basilisk Drake. He's supported by Tyrant Zadesh with a Cyclops Brute in his lone battle group there. There's also a Ancestral Guardian, as well as Hakar the Destroyer, the character Ancestral Guardian. A full unit of Immortals, a full unit of Venator Slingers, full unit of Annihilators, a small unit of Paingiver Beast Handlers, and then a Gatorman Boker with a Swamp Shamblers and a Scorne Paingiver Taskmaster to keep those guys in line. So we've got a whole lot of dudes to support the Rage of Ancients feat. Zal gains a number of Ancestral Rage tokens equal to the number of friendly faction warriors that were destroyed, and then he can use those after he feats for the rest of the turn to boost melee attack and damage rolls for any friendly faction model. So you can really get a lot of additional boosting power out of it, really have what looks like a fairly soft-hitting army hit a lot harder, especially when combined with his Last Stand spell that gives an additional die on melee attack and damage rolls for a model or unit, but at the cost of those models.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you just look at Ian's deployment here, and you just see this mass of models on the table, just filling up that center zone, and there's so much stuff. Obviously, when you're playing kind of lots of guys like this, practice is super important because you're under the clock and moving all those models, knowing where to activate them, making sure they don't get in your way for future activations is really important. So an army like this takes a lot of skill, not just because it kind of skews to a certain way and in a very interesting way, but also just because of the amount of stuff you have to be concerned with on the table. Moving over to Adam's deployment right now, he's got Gorshade going in the middle of the table. He's putting the Bane Thrall Cav on the side. And it's another match that we've seen today, and it seems like many of our matches have been this way, where one side has a numerical superiority over the other. This one is pretty close in terms of overall numbers.
Yeah.
But the Scorne side definitely has a sheer number advantage, which may or may not lead to it. Now, when your number advantage is there so it can die, it does change things a little bit. And plus, Adam's going to have the ability for that Mockery of Life to be able to bring back his important key piece models, including Black Banes and both the Soul Hunters and the Bane Riders, which is huge in any game. If you've ever played against Gorshade, Lord of Ruin, you know how big of a deal Mockery of Life can be. So as our players are getting set up here, finalizing their deployment. One of the things that struck me as interesting, like most interesting about the Scorne list, not just is its composition, but also the fact that it lacks a single heavy war beast.
Right, and that's true for both armies. It's more common that we see War Machine armies without a heavy warjack than Hordes armies without a heavy war beast. In the Hordes armies we've seen today, there have been a lot of heavy war beasts, sometimes as many as 4 heavies, or a gargantuan. So a lot of real hitting power. Right. So dialing that back to just some lights, and not even particularly hard hitting lights when viewed on their own, is a very different way to go.
Yeah, I mean, the Bane Riders themselves can get up to a very respectable POW 17 on the charge between Siding Touch and their brutal charge ability on their Bane Blades, plus their Curse and their Cavalry Charge makes them extremely accurate, so they fill that heavy hitting role extremely well. The Soul Hunters, once they can boost with Soul Tokens, do the same thing. So you've got a lot of ways to mitigate that lack of hitting power from a heavy warjack. Whereas on the Zal side, it comes down more to the feat, the Last Stand, and more than just the intrinsic abilities of his troops themselves.
Yeah, it is also worth noting that the Soul Converter ability that Zal has is going to contribute to that same theme. Every turn, he can spend 1 Fury to give his Ancestral Guardian and Hakar the Destroyer a Soul Token, so they can boost rolls as well in additional ways than maybe expected by the opponent.
See Ian and Adam shaking hands, wishing each other a fun and exciting game as Ian begins to take the first turn here.
Scopes out the position of the different units in his opponent's army. Make sure that he's got an idea of where Black Banes are going to wind up, where the Soul Hunters are going to wind up.
So Adam quickly explaining that he's going to be using corpse tokens to mark incorporeal versus non-incorporeal models. So if you see a corpse token, that means that model is incorporeal.
Ian go ahead and has his Venator Slingers receive the run order. They run on up the field. As the one of the less expensive units in his army and the least expensive full 10-man Scorne unit in his army, these guys may wind up being a little bit sacrificed to their opponents for their tasty souls and for the ability to then boost rolls when the feat is used. They do have slings, though, that are relatively accurate, especially against low defense targets, and that also can corrode in an area.
Yeah, the corrosion can definitely be super useful against some armies, less so against an army that has so much incorporeal in it, which can slough off that corrosion like right away.
One of the things we don't always talk about too much because we're getting into the game in progress and focused on that is that choosing the army list is such a big part of the gaming experience for something like Iron Gauntlet. In this case, some of Adam's other lists are very troop heavy. So with like dozens upon dozens of dudes in one of his lists, those acid splashes could be a real big deal. In this list, it's actually, even though it does look like a whole lot of guys there on the board, it's a bit easier to keep them more spread out. We've got the Immortals running up. We now have the Annihilators running up. Great frontline troops thanks to Berserk, but also reasonably costed, so you're not too worried when they start to die and provide you their souls and some feet fodder.
Yeah, the Annihilators are definitely something that you have to plan for as an opponent. They're a great frontline troop between tough, Berserk, and reach. They have decent speed. And really their biggest weakness, in my experience, is always their weakness to sniping. Against ranged heavy armies, you can pick them out pretty quickly. And even when you tough and you get knocked down, it removes that model from really being able to perform the next turn. So in this list, however, Ian's kind of safe from shooting. He's got a couple of spells that he has to worry about, but overall, those Annihilators are going to get into combat.
Yep. Yeah, on both sides, we've got some troops that can really do some damage. You've got Vengeance and then their normal attacks on the Immortals there. You've got Berserk on the Annihilators. On the other side, you've got the incorporeal ability on Blackbane's Ghost Raiders, which is so strong. We've also got the Swamp Shamblers, who are going to convert those deaths not just to souls, but then also to bodies.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting interplay between all of these different abilities that really rely on destroyed models. Both armies kind of favor their own models getting destroyed for specific purposes, but they also really want the enemy models to get destroyed for specific purposes. See Zadesh casting his upkeep spell and advancing forward right behind his Brute.
Tag team will definitely make the Brute more effective if the two get into melee combat. The Gatorman Boker and his Swamp Shamblers are going to run up behind the Scorne troops so as to collect their bodies when they die. Turn the Scorne into fish.
You see that Brute being used for his shield guard ability for that Boker more so than Zadesh himself. Allowing that Boker to get within prime position to pick up destroyed friendly models to convert them back into Shamblers. See the Creo riling.
Interesting.
And simply walking forward.
I suppose there's not a whole lot of use in using your Animus, even though why rile when you can Animus, I always say.
Again, it goes back to that, you simply get in the practice of doing it and then you're never going to forget it.
Right. But certainly in this game, it's not really going to need protection from ranged attacks.
See a whole bunch of souls go out to the Ancestral Guardian Hakar from Zal himself.
Yep, Soul Converter to get the Soul engine running.
Interesting choice, putting Inviolable Resolve in Hakar, boosting up his armor even more with that Ghost armor.
Yeah, we talked about the lack of heavy Warjacks and Warbeasts in this particular matchup, but Hakar the Destroyer, even though he is only a solo, he's got a base armor of 18. Inviolable Resolve takes that up to a 20. Ghost Shield currently is taking that up to a 21. And if he gets the other two souls on there, before long, that's going to be an armor 23 model. There's not a whole lot that can really dent that in the Cryx army. I mean,
we see
Bane Cavalry is probably the best bet.
Last Stand being cast on the Immortals right away, so they're ready to explode for the cause, basically. See a charge being declared from the other Kriya, or Basilisk.
Now, one of the things to keep in mind with Last Stand is that the models that attack while they have Last Stand up will die, but they don't do so until the end of the turn. So in the case of the Immortals, you could get an attack out of the guy during the Vengeance move and attack, as well as during their actual activation. It's comparable to the Annihilators, where you can get potentially several attacks thanks to Berserk. So especially against an army that doesn't have tons of real heavy armor, you want to make the most out of those Last Stand dudes by ideally getting 2 or 3 for 1 instead of just trading straight across.
See the Beast Handlers run, and Ian realized he advanced the leader a little bit out of position where he wanted him, and Adam was just like, go ahead and shift him over. It's not a big deal. So more great sportsmanship being shown here at this Iron Gauntlet event, and pretty much standard for what we expect from all War Machine events in our experiences. The players here, though they play really hard, they play to win. They're always tight, technical games. You won't find a group of more relaxed people about it. I think that shared experience in terms of knowing that you're going to play to win and you're coming to just do your best and not wanting to win on technicalities. We see that a lot.
Also, a lot of real interest in learning, like gaining more knowledge, not just a win, but an understanding of other warcasters, warlocks, army styles. It's really prevalent among our Iron Gauntlet competitors.
I mean, at the end of every game that we've recorded today and had the pleasure of seeing, once the camera stops, you walk over to that table and the players are immediately talking about the game, what they could have done different, what their opponent saw that they maybe didn't. And that discourse usually lasts for 10 to 20 minutes after. So we see the Defiler spending a focus point to run 14 inches up the field. The Bane Riders using their ghostly ability to just jet right through that woods with no problem. Running as well. Machine Wraith now on the far left, running, using its incorporeal to just go where it wants.
Now it is worth noting that the incorporeal models have a bit more to be afraid of in this particular case than they sometimes do. Zal himself, of course, has magical weapons, both in terms of his melee weapon, but also a ranged attack. Then you've got the Ancestral Guardians, who also have ranged magical weapons in their melee attacks. The Immortals, so decent chunk of that army that can kill an incorporeal model dead.
So we see Gorshade advancing forward a little bit, checking his kill box range. Judge coming in to check just to make sure that Gorshade is outside the kill box. And that is counted as good, so Gorshade is now safe from the kill box. And Gorshade is done. Casting no spells or anything like that.
LCQ players, can I get you guys to gather up back here?
Blackbanes. Blackbane's Raiders go next, running their speed 7, so 14 inches straight up, using their incorporeal. Like you said, the incorporeal Blackbanes do have things to fear from a lot of that Scorne army with their magical weapons.
Yeah, it looks like the distances are, at least currently, in Adam's favor. It's maybe possible for those Immortals to get to 1 or 2 guys, maybe, but they're going to pay for it if they do.
They will. Although, I mean, if they get to those guys, they're going to die anyway, so with the last stand up, if it stays up, there's no real retaliation to that. So it comes down to trying to make sure that it is worthwhile. Pistol Wraith ran. Soul Hunters are all incorporeal because they're beginning within Dara Grace command range.
Now these guys won't stay incorporeal, unlike Blackbane's Ghost Raiders, but they will get that benefit for the purposes of this turn for moving up. Can prove very useful in later turns when they can move through their enemies.
The Soul Hunters staying pretty spread out here, trying to avoid those corrosion splashes. The Blood Witch is going next now. Blood Witches are just going to run. So we see the Bloodhag running 10 inches because she's a little slower, being older than the rest of her younger sisters. And then we see that first Blood Witch kind of setting the pace. Whole bunch of Blood Witches moving behind. They're pretty tight clumping there for those Venator Slingers to potentially like win out on.
Yeah. Certainly tight clumping on both sides just due to the sheer quantity of models to move up the field to contest these flags.
So that last Machine Wraith running forward. Using its Incorporeal to just pass through friendly models and terrain in the way. Derek Wraith simply advances. Wants to keep those Soul Hunters at least within his command. So Derek casts Beyond Death. We'll go ahead and give undead models tough. And then he uses his light cav move to advance forward closer to the Soul Hunters. So Beyond Death will give living enemy models within his command range of 9 inches, -2 to damage rolls.
So it is a protective effect, but not the one you were thinking.
No. Got that one mixed up.
Now, I was fully expecting a Death Ride, honestly. Thought he would want that extra inch here early on.
Based on his final positioning, though, when he would have had to do the Death Ride, I'm not sure he would have caught that much because the Blood Witches wouldn't get it. The Soul Hunters were a little bit out of his range. I think he might have gotten 1 or 2. And the Black Manes might have caught a little bit, but I'm not sure he needs the extra inch there, especially if you consider that, you know, he's aware that the Immortals can actually kill the Black Manes. So we've got a measure of control area to check kill box on Zal, as Ian will have to get out of it this turn. So we have the Annihilators declaring a run/charge. So those front Annihilators will likely
charge into at least
some of those
few of the
Blood Witches.
Blood Witches here.
Checking the line there.
Checking the ranges. Also already contesting that far flag.
So see the first one go in. It's not the lane I actually would have expected there. I would have thought that he'd go a little bit more towards that line with the back and try to get 2 with the Berserk, because he can't obviously affect the Blackbane over there, but he could, with reach, had potentially the range to get at least 2 of the Blood Witches. And now he's in danger of berserking into his own guys, which, again, going back to this army kind of wants its dudes to be destroyed, but you don't want to destroy them too early, so.
Well, and when you destroy them, you want to trade them. You want to take out something of your opponent's, especially something you can't bring back. Not just attack and wind up paying for it.
The Blood Witches not being valid marker of life targets definitely makes them a prime choice for early targeting. Removing them quickly, even piecemeal, you can doing something like Blackbanes or anything like that. Between their inherent ability to be able to bring people back, as well as Goreshade's ability to be able to Mockery of Life them back. First Annihilator misses. Second Annihilator hits with authority on boxcars. So -2 to damage rolls, effectively POW 10.
Still enough to take out that Soul Hunter, and is the Annihilator in range of his buddy?
Yep.
And the answer is, yep, he is.
Berserk into his own fella. So 13 will hit. That'll drop him, but he toughs. Lucky Annihilator gets hit in the back by his friend, but just falls to the ground.
Well, now he's lucky enough to get killed by a bunch of Soul Hunters.
Well, if he's going to use all of his Soul Hunters to kill that one knockdown guy,
well,
count that as a win. See the charge against the
I'm fully expecting
Blood
to
Witch.
see that one dead Soul Hunter back next turn.
Yep. Hits, murders his charge target. So, and then a little bit of incorrect positioning leaves a berserk target in his own guy, but he misses. So, it worked out. So that'll do it for the Annihilators. Taking care of 2 models. Not a bad start, but when you consider the Mocker of Life on that Soul Hunter like you mentioned, it's not the ideal. If the Venator Slingers can manage to deal with a few more of those Soul Hunters, though.
Well, or perhaps the Venator Slingers are what's supposed to deal with the Satixis Blood Witches.
Potentially. He's in decent position to be able to get a few of those in a range of both.
The acid from the AoE against that one right there in particular would just be great.
Would be
for
devastating
Ian's
for sure.
plans.
See Hakar advancing forward. Being armed 21. So
Zal now activates. Once again, he uses Soul Converter. Gets Hakar's armor up to a mighty 22, almost the maximum. And also gives an additional soul token to the Ancestral Guardian.
So now Zal is going to advance forward, getting outside the kill box himself. Against that wall there.
It's not close enough to use it yet, but Zal has a deceptively powerful ranged weapon in the Spirit Eye. Adds the opponent's strength to its damage rolls, which makes it very effective at taking out a range of targets.
Especially love using that against War Beast for sure. So Zal finishes his activation.
Next we have the Venator Slingers. They're going to advance. And Smart Money says they're going to throw a whole bunch of acid.
I would expect so. Zal looks pretty safe behind that wall, and he's got 3 transfers left with likely plenty of War Beasts. But you have to be careful about Gorshade's assassination range with Madeline Corbeau, all of the incorporeal, the stationary. There's a lot to think about and a lot of models on the table to have to worry about.
Well, there's also still a lot of Scorne models to activate. It's entirely possible that Zal will be surrounded by dead bog trogs before too long. Venators begin choosing their targets and beginning to spin their slings to throw some acid.
So we see the first one throwing at Darg Wraith, trying to get him off his horse. Needs a 9 and gets it with a 10.
Interestingly enough, Darg Wraith, one of the few models who will not add to the damage roll thanks to erosion. The slings do have the erosion ability, so they gain an additional die on the weapons damage rolls against non-living models. So against undead or constructs, the Bone Jack over there, any of the undead models, but not against Darg Wraith.
So potentially seeing some changes to. So we see some changes in targets now.
You can get some more corrosion out there.
And also targeting the undead soul hunters to get that extra dice. So that shot misses.
Note that this is not an AoE weapon. It only causes corrosion within an AoE when the flasks of acid smash against their target.
See more shots going at the front. Does hit on the 3rd shot against that front soul hunters. So he corrodes everybody. So POW 7 effective. because of Beyond Death. And he does manage to destroy him with the additional damage die from Erosion.
Beyond Death made it close, but still enough.
See a field promotion here since that was the leader. Quick little intent that the model is facing directly forward but is unable to do so because of its weapon and its closeness with the Machine Wraith. And that is it for the Slingers. I'm
Did not see that coming.
a little surprised that he didn't continue to make attacks.
I mean, at least that one into the Blood Witches. Why
At
not
least.
take that great shot right there? A couple of great shots, honestly.
So we see the Immortals charging the Blackbane Raiders. Definitely within range thanks to the +2 movement from being within the command range of an Ancestral Guardian.
Now, they did not have a spell on them anymore, do they?
The
Last Stand?
Last Stand is still up.
It is still up.
It's still up.
Oh,
hiding
there it
behind
is,
the,
underneath
Basilisk.
the, yeah, I see it now.
So we see the rest of the Immortals run after 3 of them charge forward.
Attention everybody, if you're planning on playing the 50-point steamroller in the morning, we are going to be capping that at 64 players and running that with Deathlock. There is a limited amount of
So trying to spread out a little bit. Has to be pretty aware of what those Bane Riders can do. With impact attacks, they're going to be able to smash through several. So last standing. So that makes this pretty much academic. So that guy will be exploding. That one will be exploding.
So some Ghost Raiders are falling to the Immortals here, but those same 3 Immortals are going to die at the end of the turn.
So all 3 charge attacks hit. All 3 Blackbanes go down instantly without even needing to roll the 4 dice on damage from the charge attacks. So we know what to do next here. Looks like we are moving on to the Brute from Zadesh's battle group. So see the Brute.
Cyclops Brute uses Safeguard on Supreme Optimus Zal.
So I'll make him immune to knockdown.
Here we have the Gatorman Boker and the Swamp Shamblers activating next.
So we see a run from them.
That Boker is likely to collect some bodies this turn, that's for sure.
It's possible Ian's trying to bait Adam into murdering a large number of those Venators so that he can add to the Shambler unit itself and gain the Rage tokens.
But that part still doesn't explain why not throw the other Acid Flasks at targets in range. Unless perhaps we missed a few other attacks that were made. He did miss several of his throws.
This is the front 3, although Adam did ask at one point if he was actually done with his activations, seeming to expect that there was more attacks coming. And based on the camera angle, it looks like there were at least a few more in range of Soul Hunters and one in range of potentially a Blood Witch.
So the Paingiver Taskmaster activates. He's going to go ahead and advance, and he's going to temper the flesh of the Bog Trogs, the Swamp Shamblers. Gives them tough and fearless. Not that they really worry about that,
Yeah.
what with being dead and all.
Zombies usually don't fear too much stuff. See the Kree advancing now? And there's the paralytic aura this turn for the 2 rather than just simply riling.
It is.
Really laying on protections on Zal at this point. But safeguard up. He's well within that paralytic aura range. He's got a lot of models around him.
The physical space around him, though, is less blocked than I thought it might be. With Incorporeal on the other side of the table and the temporary Incorporeal the Soul Hunters can gain. I expected him to be well blocked in by his own troops.
So, final move on that Basilisk there. Now we see the
Beast Handlers run up into position. And with that, concludes the activations, and Ian passes the turn.
And we see the 3 Immortals get destroyed. So, some rolls for Corrosion as Adam starts his turn. Madeline takes a point. Darragh takes a point. And the Soul Hunter takes a point. So Corrosion continues to slowly eat away at them.
Yep. It's more of an ideal weapon against those single wound troopers, but slowly but surely losing some life on those various solos and the grunt that was corroded.
So one of the things that's interesting to note about Zal is the fact that with direct spirits, those Soul Hunters aren't going to get the souls of the models they kill. As long as he's got models within range to take the souls instead.
Right. And that they're in this control area, yeah.
And he just quickly measured his control area, and it looks like only 1 Venator is outside of the control area. So he's going to lose less overall in terms of the exchange for losing the models as well.
Well, when it comes to the War of Souls, Zal's definitely got an advantage.
So Madeline's ability is activating at this point because there is an enemy model within her range. So Intrigue is going to allow one friendly warrior model in her command range to advance up to 3 inches. Those Annihilators well within her command 9.
Adam's not sure who he wants to use that on, so he chooses Goreshade.
Goreshade's going to try to walk through the wall. He has the movement to do it. He only gets 3 inches. Quick measurement here, bringing in the judge to make sure. Looks like from front of the base to front of the base, it's going to be okay. And the judge is coming in to check. So we get a pause on the clock. I'm going to make sure. So the measurement is really close, down to a millimeter or so. We see the wall just getting removed. A quick balancing down. And the decision is that it is good. So
Goreshade slips through the wall here.
Clock restarts. Goreshade uses his 3-inch Madeline Cobone move. Zips through that wall. So that wraps up the maintenance phase. Troll phase sees the cleanup of Beyond Death. No upkeep of Occultation. That's why those Soul Hunters didn't get shot at more, because of Occultation.
The Soul Hunters or the Blood Witches?
Soul Hunters. The Blood Witches, I still don't have an answer for you. But the Soul Hunters, the ones behind who looked like they could have taken shots, were out of stealth range. So we see
Did the
no
blood hag-
allocation, and we see no allocation and no upkeeps. So Gorshade is going to be sitting on all 7. That occultation last turn came from the Scarlock Thrall. So we see Blackbane's getting a charge order. So we're going to see a run. And we see him using a proxy to kind of measure out his ability, because I know it's pretty clear we're going to see a feat at this point. And here comes a freezing against Zal.
Moving carefully, using the proxies to ensure that he doesn't take a free strike from Hakar the Destroyer, who does have a magical weapon.
Mm-hmm. See another run, getting up there, trying to maximize those 3-inch AoEs of freezes.
Seems likely we are about to see a feat.
Yep. So no defensive strike on Hakar, which means that he's not able to retaliate against that Blackbane that is moving within freeze distance. Now Adam realizes he's going to have to be a little more careful over here because of the magical weapons and the reach on the Immortals.
All the Immortals, yep.
See just some straight charges here. So is able to get 3 charges off on the Immortals. And there is a free strike drawn from that, though. So last stand, it still goes off here. But does eliminate that Blackbane Raider. Blackbane runs up to try to keep everybody in his command range. He's only worried about the 2 Blackbanes who are going to get to make attacks. So first charge attack hits from the Blackbane Raider. So arm 17, -7. Does it, barely, but does make it. So Vengeance is now ticked off. This one's kind of inconsequential because Last Stand is going to get rid of it.
Right.
Those 2 have been marked as Corporeal. So Corporeal, Corpse, all sounds the same. We're using those tokens for Corporeal models. Adam admitting that he's going all in on this turn. We'll see if it pays off for him in the end. So Blood Witch is activating next. They're going to do a charge order, and they're going to use their mini feat from the Styxis Blood Hag, which is...
Yeah, they will turn
Blood
incorporeal.
Shadow.
Yep.
So they'll turn incorporeal at the end of their activation. So we see a run from the first one, charge from the Hag. Another run there. Run through the forest. We see one more run there. So we have 2 charges, one from the Hag, one from a normal trooper. Death Strike is called. So if she manages to destroy a living enemy model, she's going to be able to do another strength or attack using the destroyed model's strength.
The Entropic Force ability is allowing Adam to ignore what would be tough rolls on the Annihilators.
So the Annihilator first Annihilator is destroyed. And Strength 7 on the Annihilator means that Death Strike is now a POW 7 hit on the Annihilator behind. Quick check on the Hag's command range. No tough roll for the second Annihilator. So Both of them are destroyed. See the Hag, Mat 7. So 13 will hit. It's a 10. Does destroy him. And we see a Death Strike into the other Annihilator. Destroys on the 17. No tough roll again because of Entropic Force from the Blood Hag. And now all of those
the unit's
witches
activation
are incorporeal. So next up, looks like we're going to see Gorshade go and pop his feet. Well, see a measure of control area here. Adam admitting that if this fails, he's basically dead.
Well, it's definitely a matter of risk versus reward.
So the War Witch Siren activates, uses Power Booster on the Defiler, give it a focus point. Defiler then runs, likely looking to get into arc range of Zal. Although that's going to be a hard line to draw with so much stuff in the way.
Still some reach models there for sure. Although, once they're stationary, they no longer are engaging. So it's definitely a matter of order here.
So running through the woods, 3 inches to the woods. So 4 more, so that's 7. He's got 7 left. So 4 more. He's got 3 inches left to not get engaged by that.
Well, or to get engaged, knowing that that model is going to be
it's true,
stationary
be frozen.
very, very soon.
Inconsequential. So we see a quick measure on the command range to get corpse tokens for the Bokur. So the Machine Wraith using its Incorporeal to run, 5 inches up. 6 more to pop right in the middle of all those models. A little bit over. Really hoping to just lock Ian's army up in case his assassination run fails this next turn.
What do you think? Think he's got it or not?
I'm curious as to what else he's going to be able to bring to bear. If he's just looking for a spell assassination, Zal's sitting on 3 Fury for 3 transfers. It seems like a long shot to me.
Yeah. The Kriya still has room for transfers.
Yep.
The Drake also still has room for transfers.
Yep. Those are the only 2 targets, but
now it's possible. No. I was thinking it might be possible for the Bane Riders to take out the Drake, but now that we see it from the correct angle here,
no,
that's not going to happen.
And I mean, we just saw the other Machine Wraith go, run into position to be able to explode and freeze a couple of Immortals. There's not much left to go. We've got Derek Wraith, Madeline Corbeau. Gorshade's going, so we're going to see the attempt here. Quick measure of his control area to see who's within control area. So ride by attack is declared, which will allow him to dash forward, pop his feet, and dash back. So trying to decide if he's going to continue going forward or not. Don't really think there's much of a reason for him to go forward at this point. So Siphon Bolt could make all the difference here because every time he hits Zal, he's going to get a Steal of Fury from him.
Right. So that means that those 3 transfers are going to turn into basically 1 transfer.
1 transfer.
And 2 Fury for Gorshade, or Focus.
Which is another Siphon Bolt. So we see a bunch of guys getting removed, getting stationaries. Bunch
Zal
of Black
does
Veins
have
disappearing.
Low armor. That is one of his risks. So on arm 14 and with 15 damage boxes. Certainly possible.
So the Machine Wraith get exploded next to freeze the 2 Scorne models closest to him, but hasn't gotten the Brute yet. And then we'll get the Brute there with that last Blackbane.
So a whole lot of those little snowflakes appearing all over the board here.
Julian Massage, if you're in the room, please go to the LCQ.
So not on the Bog Truck, just on Zal with that last Blackbane. But Zal is frozen now. So,
and as you noted, there's also a wall of frozen models. So should this attempt prove unsuccessful, there's still going to be a whole lot of frozen Scorne in the middle of the board.
now the question is, does he have line of sight to Zal? And this is going to be huge.
I am fairly certain the answer is coming back yes.
It looks like he's got a gap there.
We've got, this is one of the situations where we've actually got probably a better angle on it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. It's super close.
That's really tight. So this is, we're going to get a check from the other side as well. I don't know, it looks, I mean, from the angle it looks good, but when you see that line get drawn, it definitely touches, it seems to float over both bases. That's definitely covered. It's the other side. So a tight call here, and one that our judge is going to take some time looking at. I mean, if it is blocked, where do you go next? You've really stymied the advance for the Scorne next turn through all the frozen stuff. You don't really have to worry about Goreshade getting retaliated against because you can just dart back with the rest of your ride.
The problem is what it does for the attrition battle.
Yep.
Where is Goreshade going from here?
Well, Goreshade can bring back a lot of the models that just got destroyed.
Yeah.
With Mockery.
He can also bring back the other models that were destroyed by his opponent, so it's also a benefit.
And the decision comes back. The judge has ruled that there is no line of sight there. So we see
the start of the Siphon Bolts.
So trying to remove the line of sight blockers in his way. So needs anything but Snake Eyes. Hits it no problem. POW 12. Eliminates the Annihilator. Now opening up line of sight to Zal.
Who has 4 Fury, it appeared from the top shot there. From here, we can only really see 3 of them very clearly, but I think he does have 4. So he's in some pretty good shape.
So the first one hits. Gets a Fury back, or turns into a focus. POW 12 -2. So 9 points. So we're going to see some quick math from Ian here trying to determine Siphon Bolt.
He definitely wants to transfer because he wants to use the Fury himself, not give it to Goreshade.
So we see 9 going to Hakar. Hoping to destroy Hakar, I'm guessing, and bring out that Kovas.
Is the Ancestral Guardian out of range?
Not sure. But Hakar is frozen, whereas the Ancestral Guardian is not, I believe.
Right.
So we see another Siphon Bolt. We'll hit it with the 7 again. So one more Fury goes, leaving just 1 transfer left. You're right, he did have 4. So POW 12, dice -2. 5 points. So he should transfer, otherwise he's just going to lose it. transfers to Hakar. Hakar gets destroyed, becomes a Kovas.
So that does knock Azal down to 11 damage boxes remaining because the excess
Does
comes
transfer
back,
back.
to him. But what else can the Cryx army bring to bear?
So a quick check here.
They're just double checking the wording on the Kovas, making sure that destruction spawned will trigger.
So Judge quickly looking at this, trying to figure out if the transfer destruction would bring about the arrival of the Kovas or not. He is stating that if that's not how it works, he would just put it on one of his war beasts.
It doesn't have the wording that it is if it is destroyed by an enemy attack or something like that, which we know there are abilities out there that work that way, specifically only to enemies.